Yeah, so I guess just general. I mean, you guys only played two conference games last year, when you adjust to the new conference, and obviously it was during the pandemic, so it was just a lot of this. Basically, this is really your first time in the Big South. So, what are your expectations going forward into this new conference?
I don't know if we have any expectations in the Big South. I have expectations of our team and our players, and I expect them to compete and be involved in each game and understand that it's a process. It's a process. It's a process when we're in the NEC, and it's a process in the Big South. And understanding each week there's an opponent, and each day you must prepare for that opponent. So that's what we're trying to do, really get prepared for who we're facing each week.
Coach, what about, preparations for the season? You're just coming off of camp, but, the games that you played in the spring, what was the mindset coming out of that and then going into a traditional summer camp, something that everybody is used to doing?
Well, to be honest with you, Chris, I think our mindset was exactly where I thought it would be, or maybe even a little bit better. Coming out of that season where we played two conference opponents and we also played JMU, some tough teams, and we go 0-3. Our guys came in this summer and they worked hard. We had about 70 guys here this summer, and we don't have funding for summer school. So those guys had jobs, and they were here working out at 6 o'clock in the morning until 9 o'clock in the morning, depending on what group you're involved in. So they were really dedicated. So our camp turned out really good. Guys came in dedicated, ready to go. The enthusiasm's been there. The practices tempo has been there. All the things we expected as a team has been there. Now we just got to go and face someone and see how we play.
See a lot of familiar names on the two deep that I'm looking at right now, but there are a couple of newcomers that broke into the lineup too. Let's talk about some of the guys who are going to be out there.
Some of the guys are going to be out there that are new. Probably be Vince Boyd. Vince Boyd's a transfer from Eastern Michigan. Vince is going to join us. We just got a transfer from Nevada named Miles Hayes. He's also a new guy. We got a familiar face in Jake Thomas, Dakari Cabal, he's going to play a little bit for us. And we got some guys at corner that are kind of familiar faces. Taven's been here forever. He's like a permanent fixture right now. He's an elder statesman. But we also got some young guys like Hayden Barron, who's going to be on the offensive line for us, and some other guys are going to show up and do some good things for us.
Obviously 2 years ago, you guys had a lot of success in your final year in the NEC. A big reason was that was the rushing attack. And, you have Elijah Jackson coming back, but 3 games last year on a little bit under 3 yards per carry. What are you expecting for him to take a step forward this year?
We're expecting for him to have a huge step forward, to be totally honest with you, especially with our O-line. Our O-lines have got a veteran O-line this year. We got Bussy coming back. We got Dylan Young coming back. We got Trevor Hicks coming back. Basically, the whole side of our left line, they're veterans. They've been here for a while. And with Elijah coming back and also Jordan Johnson and some other guys that are going to be contributing when it comes to that backfield, we expect to do a great job in our rushing attack.
Coach, let's talk a little bit about the defense as well. Obviously, Anello Bazzacco is returning, and preseason all-conference, got a lot of accolades, and deservedly so with all those tackles that he makes. And I know he's your leader on that side of the ball, but let's talk about what Robert Morris is going to look like defensively.
Well, the great thing about Anello is, as you said, he's a veteran of the game. He knows what's going on. He had a couple of bumps and bruises, so he didn't do as much in training camp as we thought he could do, but we know he's going to be ready for games along with Jamar Shagog. Those are two guys that are going to be solid fixtures in there for us. We got a transfer who just stepped in by the name of Ty Clord. Ty's coming in from VMI. He's going to help us a lot. But those two guys, Anelio and Chagog, those are two guys that we're really expecting a lot of, especially Buzz. Not so much as far as performance, as you spoke about his performance. He's always done a great job when it comes to tackles, but also leading that defense and getting everybody aligned where they need to be at and getting everyone in tune with what we need to do defensively.
Your special teams look like it's pretty much the same as it has been over the last season or so.
Well, the thing out of special teams, like you said, like we've always said, it's the foundation. You got that triangle with offense, defense, and the foundation of the team has to be special teams. And we're not looking to win any games with special teams. That would be great. We want to make sure our games stay solid. We don't want to make huge mistakes on special teams, especially going into this first game. That's what you want to be about. You want to make sure you don't have any turnovers, any mishaps on special teams, and make sure it's solid. And Coach Alamalo has done a great job of making our special teams solid.
Coach, were there any takeaways that you can take? I mean, anything that you can take away from the 2 conference games in the spring that you guys did get to play, or is it just kind of like a weird season that you don't really want to focus on what happened?
Well, to be totally honest with you, the things we can take away, Logan, is the fact that we played an opponent who's usually in the middle of the bunch in Kennesaw. and Charleston Southern, who's in the middle of the bunch, and then Kennesaw's usually at the top of the bunch. So we kind of saw we fared when it comes to the middle of the bunch and being at the top of the bunch, and we feel like we can compete. Do I know how many games we're going to win? No, I have no idea how many games we're going to win, but I feel like we can go in and compete and face an opponent that we know is going to be good and where they're going to be and where they stand. So when we watch teams play Kennesaw and see how they do against Kennesaw, then we watch teams play Charleston, see how they do against Charleston, it kind of gives us a barometer of where we need to be at and the things we need to do.
Is there any preparations that you guys are doing in terms of just making sure that there isn't an outbreak this year? I mean, obviously, the vaccines and everything, but with the Delta variant coming out, are you guys doing anything to make sure that there isn't any outbreaks among your team this year?
Well, the thing the university's done is, even if you're vaccinated, making sure you're masked on campus. We got to make sure everyone's masked on campus. But of course, we got some guys that are not vaccinated, so we make it effective. It's a situation where it may happen, so that situation happens. But the guys that are vaccinated, we're making sure non-vaccinated guys sit with vaccinated guys, so they're not sitting next to each other. So when it comes to contact tracing and all those things become such a hassle. So those are the preparations that we're taking. And with the Delta variant, like you said, we're not exactly sure what's going to happen, but we're taking as much precaution as we can. And we're hoping the guys that we have vaccinated can help us through this thing.
Coach, back to summer camp this year, the weather has been absolutely hot. I know you like that, being from Tampa.
Stop. It's not hot. It has not been hot. I mean, you guys talk about hot. This isn't hot. I guess it's been hot, no humidity. So I guess that's how you look at it. Go ahead, Chris.
Well, if you're a northerner, I mean, we're baking in the sun out there. But let's talk about how the team got through it and how preparations went with the weather the way it's been.
Well, there were some days where it was kind of tough. It was a drudgery for them to push through, but they've done a great job of pushing through. But we've done a great job as coaches as breaking it back in practice, not having many periods, breaking down a 5-minute period may become a 4-minute period or a 3-minute period. So giving those little rests in between and not running them as much after practice. We're making sure they're pushing through practice. They do a great job of pushing through practice and pushing themselves. We don't run after practice. But if I feel like they haven't pushed themselves where they need to push themselves during practice, then we're going to run after practice. And it all depends on the heat. I mean, the great thing that Mike Vittorino does, and that's our trainer. Mike does a great job with, hey, coach, it's a little hot out here. Be smart about what's going on. But it's been pretty good. We lost Logan?
Yeah, it looks like we have. Well, in the meantime, let's talk a little bit about the Dayton Flyers and what you expect out of them. This is a team that Robert Morris has played perennially since the beginning of the football program. And, they've had the upper hand in most of those games. How are you going to beat them this Saturday? What are you going to do to come after them?
Well, the thing about Dayton is this, Chris, and you know that. You're talking about a disciplined, hard-nosed, fundamentally sound football team. You're talking about a coach who's been there 40 years. He played there, he was an assistant there, and now he's the head coach there. And he doesn't make a whole lot of changes when it comes to his coaching staff. He doesn't make a whole lot of changes when it comes to his football team. They pretty much do the same stuff. So we know they're going to be fundamentally sound. They're going to be technique sound. And they're going to get after it. And they do a great job of running to the football defensively, and they do a great job of blocking up front and tackling on defense and doing those things that they need to do. They're a fundamentally sound team. So we know the opponent we're going up against. And it's like you said, it's a tough situation for us because, they've beaten us twice since we've been here. So we got to go in there with the right mindset, knowing the type of team that we're going to face, knowing we're going to face a disciplined team and have our guys understand these are the things we have to do well. We have to be technique sound. We have to be fundamentally sound. We can't make mistakes. Dayton does a great job of capitalizing on your mistakes, and we got to make sure we minimize those mistakes.
I hope we get a whole game in this time because the last time we were there, we didn't. That lightning storm, and I think there was a tropical storm that blew through there, so we only played a half of football there.
Not with me.
That was that far back. Wow, I didn't realize that.
That was way far back. Yeah, 2018, we started it late, but we were fine. We played the whole game. It wasn't an issue.
Okay.
Yeah, so Coach, looking at the two deep, you guys got a lot of your starters, juniors, red shirts, seniors, a lot of experience among your starting lineups, but really on both sides of the ball. How important is that, especially when it's coming off such a weird year, an unusual year like last year, where maybe a lot of players didn't get as much experience as you would have liked?
I think it's extremely important what you're saying. Our guys had an opportunity to play together in those 3 games, and they had an opportunity to play it together in 2019 when we had some success. So we have some guys that have played together. So that's extremely important. When you have guys that have been here 3-4 years and they played, they kind of know each other. They do a good job of honing in on what's important. They do a good job of honing in on what the coach is expecting from them, and they do a great job of playing together as a football team.
I know you want to hold back on making any predictions for the Big South, but how important is basically having that experience too when adjusting to the new conference?
Well, that's important. There's no doubt it's important. I'm not going to, like you said, I'm not going to make any prediction, but it's extremely important that we continue to play together as a unit. We continue to understand each other's ins and outs, goods and bad, pros and cons. That's what the great thing about having a veteran team is together. They've been together for a while. So those things are important when you're facing a Big South opponent that has the speed, that have the veterans, that have those things that are important.
You know, your staff has been together for a while too. I mean, these are guys that you've been bringing along, and obviously together you've built the program, and that has to be an advantage to you to work with people you know inside and out.
Well, the great thing, we've lost some guys here and there, Chris, but the offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, O-line coach, who's the associate head coach, those guys have been here. You know, the defensive back coach, Coach Tansky, who took over recruiting coordinator, and Coach Alamato, who took over special teams. They were here before with their staff. So that's the great thing, exactly what you said. These guys have been together. We run the same offense. We run the same defenses. We've been here, and those guys kind of culminated and came in together and done a great job.
When you guys are sitting in the coach's office, are you dreaming up new schemes? Are you adding wrinkles here and there, or are you going with the basic playbook, or what's it like in the office?
Well, the thing about Coach Plunge is he's always adding new wrinkles, which drives me crazy as an old defensive coordinator. So he's a younger guy than I am. He got me I'm 54. I think Coach Plunge is 30. So he drives me crazy because he's 24 years younger than me. So he takes more chances than I would take as a defensive coordinator, but he's done a great job. He's improved each year he's been here. And what Coach LeVar has always done a great job of. Coach LeVar has always done a great job with our personnel. So whatever personnel we have working with, obviously, you know and I know, Gonzo was a huge part of our offense, you know, years ago when we first got here. And in 2019, we don't have that type of receiving tight end anymore. We have guys we're trying to develop. We're trying to get them in that role that Gonzo was in. But our guys now are more blockers and motion guys and things like that. So we got to – Coach LeVar has done a great job of making a great mixture of that.
Coach, one thing I wanted to ask you about that I noticed on the schedules that you guys got Central Michigan, obviously FBS team. You know, I looked at Duquesne's schedule earlier, and they got, I believe, 2 or 3. I think they have Ohio this week, and I think they got West Virginia next week too. And I know you guys scheduled Hawaii last year as well, but I guess there's one thing going forward. Is that something that we could expect more big FBS more FBS programs on the non-conference slate going forward in your tenure at Robert Morris?
Absolutely. We're trying to put West Virginia in there. We're trying to put on there. I think Chris has already put University of Miami in Florida on there. He's also put Miami of Ohio on there. He's also put Air Force on there. He's also I can go on. Chris has definitely loaded us down with FBS schools. But again, I think it's important to do those things because the young men you're bringing in, those are the schools they were looking at, and those are the schools they want to compete against. And so that gives us another barometer of what you talked about when you're facing those schools. When we face Central Michigan after we face Dayton, it'll see where we are. We're playing against a school that's an FCS school who's a non-scholarship school, but does a great job. Dayton's a disciplined school, do a great job of building up a great program. Coaches Chamberlain's done a great job building that program. And then you turn right around and you go up against a school like Central Michigan, who has 85 scholarships, so on and so forth. So it definitely gives you an outlook on what you can do and how you can go about doing things. So we're definitely going to look to put more FBS schools on the conference, on the non-conference schedule as we go.
Coach Clark, riding on Logan's question about future opponents, what about the changes in recruiting that are mandated because of the upgrading in the schedule? What have you done differently recruiting-wise?
Well, we've broadened our horizons. We got a couple of guys on the team now from Georgia. We want to still stay within that 350-mile radius of where we're going. We still want to get Pennsylvania, Ohio guys, but we've broadened ourselves a little bit more to Georgia, a little bit more to Virginia. So we've opened up our parameters when we start looking outside, especially when you're in the Big South. So you got to start going down to North Carolina. You got to start going down in those areas because now you're facing schools in that area. So we've broadened our parameters when it comes to that, Chris.
Now, obviously, college sports drastically changed this year with the NIL being added. So how have you taken to talking about that with your players, and how have you handled that kind of with your team? Make sure they understand what it's all about.
To be totally honest with you, I haven't. And the reason I haven't really sat down and talked to them because there's nothing we can really do for them. It's all about a marketing thing. We can't market them. We can't do those things. They can't use the school as a marketing tool. So I've kind of stayed away from it. I've let our compliance officer handle those things because that's who's really going to be important to. Now, is there a way that we can sell it? Yes, but I think the FBS schools probably can sell it a little bit more than we can sell it. We may have one or two guys where it affects them, but I don't know how many guys are going to actually have that really affects them.
Would you have liked to have seen that when you were at the University of Miami?
What'd you say? I'm sorry, Chris.
Would you have liked to have seen that type of agreement for players when you were playing at the University of Miami?
You know what, Chris? I'll be totally honest with you. Obviously, when I played, yes, because I was 18 years old or 23 years old, because you're always looking for money or always trying to find a way to have more money when you're on scholarship. But to be honest with you, I've heard what some of these guys are getting for cost of attendance at some of these schools, and I've heard some of these universities pay some of these guys $20,000, $15,000 on top of their scholarship. If I was making $15,000, $20,000 on top of having a full ride, I think that would have been enough for me. But that's me personally. I mean, does everybody? I've always said this, and I've said this to you before, Chris. Everybody wants to make $1 million. Everybody does. I mean, Chris, you love to make $1 million. Logan, you love to make $1 million in what you do and what you love to do. But at the same time, it doesn't work that way. So I think what you have to do is be happy with where you are and understand where you are and hope that things are going to get better and things are going to proceed the way they have. Would I have liked to have it, Chris? Yes, I would have loved to have it. But at the same time, I would have loved to have cost of attendance when I was at the University of Miami.
Looking at the schedule again, I'll probably, this is probably something more to talk about when the game's actually closer. But I just wanted to ask, 3 weeks, you guys have your first home game in 2 years. And there's likely, assuming there's not another outbreak, there'll likely be fans in the stands.
Mm-hmm.
Have you given any thought of looking forward to that? And just, are you excited for things starting to return back to normal in that sense?
And actually, I didn't even think about it. You just said it's been 2 years since we played. Oh, you kind of shocked me with that one. I didn't even think about that. But yes, will it be exciting? I think it's going to be exciting for our guys to finally come home and play in front of a crowd and be able to do it. We were supposed to play Monmouth in the spring, but unfortunately that didn't go down. So our guys never got a chance to play a home game. So I think they're going to be extremely excited, and the coaches will be too. And it'll be great for our fans. I mean, and the parents of our players be able to come and sit in the stands and cheer for their young men the way they think they can do it.